late. So mic check, looks good. Sound looks good. Coming through there. All right, ready to rock and roll. Let's go. Going live in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Dude, we just got to get to it. It's Wednesday. It's CMA Day. For those of you that don't know what the heck that is, you're like, what the heck is CMA Day? That's Carter Myers Automotive Group, one of the most amazing automotive groups in the world. So we get to spend time with them on Wednesdays, so we always call today CMA Day. But listen, we're going to dive in. I've got two dads, one black, one white, and we're going to talk about both of those suckers today. Let's go. Good morning, good morning, good morning. How are you, my friend? How are you, my friend? See, there's no excuse for you not pushing yourself to the next level. In order for you to create a new you must have a new mindset. When teams come together, we can create things that are greater than the sum of all of their parts. Good morning and welcome to hashtag Rise and Grind. I am your host, Glenn Lundy. I am a husband to one, a father to 8, and the creator of what is going to be the #1 most watched morning show in the world. It is 5:30 a.m. and I hope that you are ready to rise and grind. Good morning, good morning, good morning. How are you, my friend? How are you, my friend? Dude, today is Wednesday, June 16th, 2021. And what's crazy is today is the very first and the very last time it'll ever be Wednesday, June 16th, 2021. So I want to make sure we make the absolute most, and yes, I do mean the absolute most of this absolutely incredible day. Hey, listen, I was up a little late last night, admittedly. I laid down, I did all the things that I was supposed to do. I'm on this detox thing that Miss Leslie has me doing, this expert in holistic health. I'm doing the detox thing. I did all that yesterday. Take the fulvic acids and the humic acids and the CBD oil on the tongue. I did all those things yesterday, right? Did everything that they've been asking me, this whole group of amazing doctors and so on and so forth. Did all the things. I've been monitoring my sleep with this little band that they got on me right here, right? My friend Niku has got this. She's got me wearing this band so she can see all the different stuff that's going on in my body. It's crazy. Did all this stuff. Laid down for bed right on time. Perfect on time. Went to sleep right on time. And about 10 minutes later, my phone started blowing up. Pow, 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 pow. My wife was like, dude, your phone's blowing up. Grab that sucker. I'm like, what? And I opened it, and it was like, Glenn, you won. Congratulations. My friend Brielle was like, hey, you won a clubby. And someone else was trying to call me. They're like, get in the room. They're talking about your name. I'm like, what is going on? And so I'm like trying to kind of wake up, and it turns out that I am incredibly stoked to have I am incredibly stoked to have been able to accept the award of most inspirational room. Sorry about that. Most inspiring room on all of Clubhouse out of 20 million people and who knows how many rooms. Most Inspiring Room Award from the Clubbies went to the Breakfast with Champions crew. And so I was jacked up about that, like incredibly jacked up. And so I was up a little bit later. They popped into the room, got to accept the award for all of you guys. And it was just absolutely incredible. Now, you have to understand that when I stay up a little bit later, so I was up an hour late. You got to understand, when I stay up an hour late, that means I get 25% less sleep. You do realize that, right? So like when they were like, come on, you got to hop in here, I'm like, dang, I really would like to get that hour of sleep. However, what an honor and a privilege. And so congratulations to, really it goes all the way back to day one, hashtag Rise and Grind, and to the Rise and Grind community that ultimately became this morning movement, that ultimately made its way over to Breakfast with Champions, that ultimately created a space where we could have the most inspiring room on an entire app. Sorry, somebody said they can't hear me on Clubhouse. Can you guys not hear me on Clubhouse? I think that might be your phone, Isaac. I don't see any reason why you guys wouldn't be able. Flash your mics on Clubhouse if you can hear me. Yeah, you guys can hear me fine on Clubhouse. Don't scare me like that, y'all. Y'all throw me completely off when you do something like that. Check with everybody else first. Check with everybody else first. Be like, can you hear? Can you hear? Can you hear? Can you hear? And then if nobody can hear, then you can be like, hey, bro, we can't hear you over here. We. When we do the word we, it scares me. When it says I, it don't scare me. When it says we, it scares me. We got an award last night. And I'm super, super, super excited about it. So congratulations. Started in the beginning, Rise and Grind. Now we've got this community, most inspiring room on this huge app. Really, really an honor. So I was up a little bit late getting that. Then there was a little icing on top. And the icing on top was that I came in second place as far as the best interviewer award. I got the honorable mention when it came to being the best interview on the app. Now you got to realize that to me is a super big deal. I mean, we're talking 20 million people on the app. And for me to come in a strong second for this specific award means a ridiculous amount to me. You see, it's quite a gift because I can't help but think about the irony of it all. Dude, in my 20s, you got to understand something about me. When I was in my 20s, I had all the stuff, right? Like I had a nice car, I had a little bit of money, I had a girl, I had all of that. Like I had all this stuff. But the one thing I didn't have was anybody's respect. I was a liar. I was a cheater. I was a stealer. I was in and out of jail multiple times. And then ultimately that lifestyle led me to lose it all. I lost all the stuff. I lost the house. I lost the car. I lost the girl. I lost all of it. And coming back from that, I learned to build a life with integrity, to build my life with character, to lift people up instead of taking people down, to support others, to spotlight others. I learned to live that way, and things like this happen. You see, my story now falls under the category of inspiring. It didn't used to be inspiring, I tell you that. Your stories that you've shared here on Rise and Grind and that you've shared on Breakfast with Champions are incredibly inspiring. That's what this award says. This award says that this is the most inspiring room, and this room is literally just made up of me and you. It's made up of your story and my story, and your story is inspiring and my story is inspiring, and that's why we got this incredible award. But what's also interesting is along the way, I personally learned to listen twice as much as I speak. That we were born with 2 ears and 1 mouth. And so when you listen twice as much as you speak, that's how you end up getting an award, an honorable mention for becoming the best interviewer. Because see, the reason I enjoy my interviews, and the reason I enjoy them is because I go in them with the intention to listen and learn. And some people are like, Glenn, you've got a recording. Why are you taking notes on an interview that you are doing live? You can go back to the recording. I'm like, no. It's not about me getting the content as much as it is about me thoroughly engaged and listening to what people have to say, being present. And so now here we are, and this whole thing with the awards and with the shows, with Breakfast of Champions, with Rise and Grind, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. And the irony of it all is really, it is contrary to how I grew up. The philosophies with which I live with now are contrary to how I grew up, at least in one household. See, I was raised by 2 fathers. I was raised by 2 fathers, each of them very different. And each of my fathers shaped me uniquely. I had my father, Everett, who came into my life when I was 11 years old. And then I had my father, Glenn, who I am clearly named after. Glenn was black. Everett was white. And they both influenced me in a very unique way. I want you to think for just a second. I want you to think about this. Think about the influence of your dad in your life. Even if your dad wasn't in your life, even if you don't know your dad, think about the influence that has had on your life. The fact that you don't know your dad, that your dad didn't show up. But I want you to think about the influence and impact that a father has in your life. Think about that for just a second. And now I want you to imagine 2 of them, which I know a lot of you have experienced this, but I want you to imagine 2 of them. 2 of those father figures. And then I want you to imagine that they are complete opposites. I mean, exactly opposite. One of them's a white dude who likes rock and roll and works at a bowling alley. The other one is a black dude who's all about like hip hop and Motown music and plays basketball every day of his life and works at a Walgreens warehouse driving a forklift. All right. 2 completely different dudes. And that's who raised me. That's who I was raised by. Those are the 2 men in my life that made me who I am today. And so I want to dive into that a little bit further. We're going to talk about the influences of fathers in our lives. But before we go too far, y'all know what we got to do on this show. Did I hit the right one over there? Yeah. Sometimes I'm going a little blind on Clubhouse. Just saying. Got to look at the camera on Facebook. I ain't got to do that over in Clubhouse. This is the part of the show where we're going to dance a little bit. Listen, an object in motion tends to stay in motion. An object at rest tends to stay at rest. Okay? So we want to get this object in motion. We got to get this body rocking and rolling. I am sore as can be today. Golly. And that's just off of one Mark Jenkins workout. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm feeling it today. I got another Mark Jenkins workout today, so feeling that. But let's go. Let's get these objects in motion. All right. This is also the part of the show where I want to say good morning to you, and I want you to say good morning to me. Whether you're watching live, you're watching on replay, maybe you're watching on YouTube, maybe you're listening to the podcast, however you're consuming the show today, I want you to connect with me. If you're over on Clubhouse, just send me a little message. You can text me. My number's in my bio. You can shoot me a text, however you want to do it, all right? Let's just make sure to connect. Good morning, Vicki Everett. And I do go back later. So if you're watching replay, or if I don't say your name right now, I might respond to your comment, that type of thing a little bit later, all right? Good morning, Dana Fishbein. Great to see you. What's up, Amy Kennedy? Great to see you as well. I see Glenda Barner's up in here. I see Lori Miller is up in here. What's up, Tony Tito Washington? Tony with the keys in the house. I see, oh, what was that name? Doug just sent me some stars. Thanks, Doug. I appreciate the stars, brother. That's Deirdre Garland. Great to see you this morning. We've got Beverly Richardson up in here, Robin Wilshans, Barrett Trout, Carrie Lynn Carter. We've got Naida Chesson. Naida, great to see you this morning. What's up, Beth Lucchese? How you doing, Angela Van? Beverly Richardson, I said your name twice because you're twice as nice. All right. I also see Marilyn Wilkin. What's up, Crystal? Tony Gonzalez is in the house. What's up, Amanda Dahl? How you doing, Alicia? What's up, my man, Alec Murphy? The dude is a G. I see you. What's up, Liza? How you doing, Mel? What's up, Dustin? Gina's in the house. I see Scott and Regina. I see Allie and Bree. I see Selena and Julie and Natalie. And I see Frank and Debbie and Lewis and Lydia and Rob and Kat. I see Naida's up on both places. What's up, Kim Garner and Suzanne? And I see, who is that? Credit Goddess. What's up, Credit Goddess? Great to see you. I see Delano and Brian and Eric is in the house. I see Emmanuel's up in here. Packed house over on Clubhouse. As usual, loving it. Hey, all of you that are with me today, I appreciate you being with me virtually. I do. I love it. And I would love it if you would join me in real life in New York City, Friday, July 29th and 30th, okay? Friday, July 29th and 30th. Just message me the word summit if you want some more details about that, and I'll share it with you. But I would love for you to meet me in New York. We're going to have a party. We're going to have a conference where it's going to be amazing. You're not going to want to miss it, all right? So with that said, let's finish up today's episode of hashtag Rise and Grind. So my dad was born and raised in, I believe it's where he was born. I know he was raised in Dade City, Florida, outside of Tampa, Florida. And in Dade City, Stephanie Wilson, you'll have to message it to me in like Messenger. In Tampa, Arizona, he grew up as one of the youngest of 13, I believe. And you have to keep in mind that I have only met like 2 people on my dad's side of the family. We did not have a strong connection over there. And so I could be a little wrong on some of the details or some of the data when it comes to my dad. But basically, this is all from recall and just memory and little pieces of information that I got when I was younger. And so he grew up very, very poor. Dade City is a poor area, period. And literally, he used to tell us that he grew up on the other side of the tracks. And it wasn't until we went to Dade City that we actually got to see what the other side of the tracks meant. So on one side of the tracks was all these pristine houses, beautiful homes. And as soon as we went on the other side of the tracks, it was swampland and shacks and completely run down. It was crazy. It was like we went back in time. It was like a time machine. We went from this industrialized, updated area and then crossed the tracks, and it was just people walking around with baskets on their head, like literally. It was insane. And that was the area he grew up in. And my dad grew up so poor with all these kids in this house that they used to he would sleep on they would take turns sleeping on the floor and sleeping on the bed, because they only had the one room for all the kids. And so sometimes you got to sleep on the floor, sometimes you got to sleep on the bed. And they grew up so poor and in such a crappy place that my dad developed a lifelong tick to where every time his face would itch in any way, shape, or form, he would smack his face loudly and then wipe his hands down, and you could hear his hand hitting his lower lip all the way across the house. You'd hear just a smack, and then and he would do that. And when I finally got up the courage to ask him why, he told me because when he would sleep on the floor, the roaches would crawl on his face. And so he would have to smack the roaches and smack them away, and ultimately developed a tick over time, because that's how he grew up. Now, as soon as he could get out of there, my dad lied about his age, and he joined the military. He joined the joined the army, and that is where he spent the next 13 years, and ultimately met my mom and kind of traveled around the world. He basically played basketball for the military, was what was his thing. My dad was a big time basketball fan. Basketball was his love, all the way up until the day that he passed away when he was 52 years old. Now, my stepdad, on the other hand, my white dad, my bonus dad, there's so many things you can call him. He complete opposite, right? Like really a big fan. When he first came into our lives, he was a big fan of rock and roll. He was still in college. He was going to college. My mom's a little bit older, I believe 9 years older. So he was still going to college and still kind of, was a rock and roll guy. He had a hamster or gerbil, I think it was, that he raised on marijuana seeds. That's what him and his brother used to feed the thing, was marijuana seeds, right? And he was working at a bowling alley, working his way through college when he first came into our lives. So he was young. I was 11, and he was 19, 20 years old, however old that was. And it was just an interesting situation. He was born in Flagstaff, Arizona. He was raised by his parents right there. He was one of three. He had an older brother, and then he had a twin brother, and ultimately lived in the house that he was raised in later in life. So very different upbringing, very different dynamic, very different human than my dad. My dad was hard. My dad was ruthless. I remember my dad telling me that we were not friends, specifically saying, "Son, I am not your friend. Period. Don't ever speak to me like I am." My dad was a hard man who would sit in the living room, and he would have this belt with a huge buckle on it. Huge buckle, like a buckle bigger than your head. That's what it felt like when I was a kid. And he would sit that belt right there on top of the television so that it was within reach, so that we were always looking at it, so that we were always walking in a state of constant fear. If we said the wrong thing, if we looked the wrong way, if we did anything like that, he could reach that belt in half a second and lay it across our rear ends. And he did. Often. You see, my dad grew up hard. He grew up with a certain type of discipline. And that's what he shared for me and my sister. We had to ask to get a drink of water. We had to ask to use the bathroom. We had to ask to take a shower. We had to ask if we could have a couple of my dad's honey roasted peanuts, which was the scariest thing in the world, was to ask my dad for that. He was just strong. That's just the way that he did things. Now, my other dad never touched me, never laid a hand on me, never once threatened to hurt me with bodily harm. He was much more reserved. Obviously, he was trying to win the love and affection of my mom and us, so he had trepidation going in, and he did love my mom. He loved my mom like I've never seen a human love another human. He loved my mom so much that ultimately, fast forward, when I was a liar and a cheater and a stealer, and when I was taking advantage of people, and when I was hurting my mom every day where she was afraid she was going to get a phone call in the middle of the night that I was going to be dead or in jail, when I put my mom through that for year after year after year, finally, my bonus dad put his foot down and kicked me out. My bonus dad is the one who loved my mom enough to say, this dude right here is toxic and he's no longer allowed in my house. That decision is ultimately a decision that led to, or not led to, but participated in me being homeless. And that decision that he made is probably one of the decisions that I'm most thankful for in my entire life. Because if it wasn't for that season of homelessness, if it wasn't for me hitting the bottom, I would have never learned the lessons that I needed to learn to be who I am today. My biological dad, my black dad, if you want to say it that way, he taught me how to fight, man. I watched this man on a basketball court throw an elbow into a dude's face, knock him out cold, stand over top of him, drop a basketball in his face and walk out. My dad taught me how to fight. He taught me how to be a fighter. He taught me what work ethic really looked like as far as the grit and the grind. He showed me that. My bonus dad, he taught me how to love. He taught me how to love unconditionally, how to treat a woman, and how to treat your kids with an unconditional love. You see, they both loved me. Both of my parents, both of my dads loved me. I know that. They both loved me. They just displayed that love incredibly differently. And so for the first season of my life, I lived my life very hard. I lived my life my dad's way, right? A fighter who cares about one another, much more selfish. Just a very me way of living. Now I live my life now my bonus dad's way, which is to be inspiring and to love on people and to make a positive impact in other people's lives. You see, my biological dad he's dead now. He died when he was 52 years old because he did live a very, 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 very hard life. He had a hard mind. He had a hard way of looking at things. And I believe that he died young because of it. My stepdad, however, my bonus dad, my white dad, if you want to call him that to make it easy for you. Dude, he's out there like planting gardens. He plays with my kids. He comes and watches all the baseball games. Like he's living a life of purpose and impact. None of my kids ever met my dad. My biological dad, none of them. My oldest, my 22-year-old, but none of the ones that live here in Kentucky. They never got to meet him. But they get to have sleepovers and spend all kinds of time with Grandpa. Because Grandpa lived life a little bit differently. He lived life with love first, instead of the hate in his heart. There was a quote in the hashtag Rise and Grind Planner today, a quote submitted by Sandra Benstock DeLolio. At the top of every page of the Rise and Grind Planner, there's always a quote submitted by one of the members. And today's quote said this. It said, "If you have life, you have purpose." I want you to think about your purpose for just a second. And my guess is, when you think about your purpose, my guess is that somewhere within your purpose is this desire to serve others. That's my guess. You see, the relentless chase, the relentless grind, the grit that my father taught me, this alone mentality, this burned mentality, this guilt and shame mindset that my biological father taught me, ultimately, I believe, led him to the grave. But this idea of loving one another and making a positive impact seems to be netting me and others around me a much better result. Just yesterday, my good friend Brandon went ahead and posted this Entrepreneur magazine image from March 2021. Apparently, Entrepreneur magazine had picked up and done an article on the morning routine master, Mr. Glenn Lundy, and the impact of the morning 5 and how changing the way people start their day could make a massive impact on this planet. And so yesterday, between the Clubby Awards and between Entrepreneur magazine and between all of those things, I've just brought to emotion this morning, an overwhelming emotion of the impact that my choices, right? Me choosing to wake up early, me choosing to create a morning routine, not for me, but for others, me choosing to use my voice, me choosing to love, not hate, me choosing to open my arms and to not fight, me choosing to create a space where all are welcome. No matter what you believe, no matter what you look like, that choice is starting to make this ripple effect impact. And so I'm grateful for my dad for showing me what not to do in a lot of ways, but also making me who I am. And I am grateful for my bonus dad for teaching me how to love people, to truly love people. Because friends, the greatest impact you can make is when you love one another. 2 ears, 1 mouth. Go out and make a difference. Listen, if you need more videos like this, you can go to glennlundy.com. That's right, glennlundy.com. There's a bunch of them up there. You can go there. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that share button over here on Facebook or hit the plus sign over on Clubhouse. Make sure you plus it up, right? Invite some more people into the room, because I do believe if we can change the way people start their day, it'll make a massive impact in their life. I know that changing the way I started my day and spending my day with you has made a massive impact in my life. I know that. So you can do that for others. Hit the share button, hit the plus sign. Know that I love you. If nobody's told you that yet today, I want to be the first. I absolutely stinking love you. I love you, Vicki Everett. Love you, Don Sankey. Love you, Leisha Watts. Love you, Pamela Brown. Love you, Gail B. Craft. Love you, Tisha White. I absolutely stinking love you. Go out there and have an incredible day. We'll be back here again tomorrow morning at 5:30 a.m. as we do this all over again on hashtag Rise.